All right, you guys, the first thing that is imperative for us to understand is what an emotion is, okay? So, and I want you to know, when I say feeling or emotion, same diff, okay? I'm using those words interchangeably and they're the same. So let's start with an emotion. An emotion starts in your brain and then releases a chemical that travels to your body and you feel it as a vibration in your body, okay? That is, so emotion 100% of the time starts in your brain and then travels to your body, okay? I'm gonna give you some examples. But then a sensation is different. Sensations and emotions are not the same. A sensation starts in the body and then travels to your brain, okay? So let's give you an example of an emotion, okay? Let's say I feel anger, okay? And personally, when I feel angry, my heart beats really fast, my stomach feels tight, and I just have like all of this like energy and I want to sock someone in the face usually, okay? When I'm feeling anger, when I'm feeling that in my body, it's because of a thought in my brain, right? It's because I'm thinking my husband never helps me, okay? And when I think my husband never helps me, it makes me feel anger. But are you seeing that? An emotion starts as a sentence in your brain, releases a chemical, you feel it in your body. Sensation is like if I touch a hot stove and my finger feels pain and it sends a message to my brain that, hey, the stove is hot, move your hand, and P.S., never touch a hot stove again, it will burn you every time. Okay, so that's the difference. Tonight we are talking about emotions and how to deal with all of the things we're feeling. Just like Katie was saying, wowza, we feel so many emotions. Sorry, everyone. Right now, I think just in our society and in the state that the world is in, we're feeling so many things, and I want to teach you guys how to handle that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what we probably currently do with our emotions, and there's three main things. Okay, so as I go through these, I want you guys to think about what you most commonly do. No open questions. Okay, I'm just making sure I can see all the things. Cool beans. Okay, the first thing we tend to do with emotion is we resist emotion, meaning we fight against it. So I'm going to give the example of someone knocking on your door. Okay, so let's say someone knocks on your door, and if you're resisting emotion, you are going to be pushing against the door. Like you are not letting that person in your house no matter what. So let's say the emotion is sadness. And if you really, really just don't want to feel sad and you don't want to cry and you don't want to go there, you're going to fight against it. You're just going to be pushing against sadness. Get out of here. I'm not going to let you come in. Okay. The second thing we do is we react. Like we act out, we lash out. I love to think of my 3-year-old toddler. She's so good at reacting. When she doesn't get what she wants, she has a complete come apart. She yells at me. She lays on the floor and kicks. She stomps off and goes to her bedroom. Like this is reaction, okay? Same example, if someone is knocking on your door, let's say sadness is knocking on your door, you're gonna open that door and you're just gonna scream at sadness. Why are you at my door? What are you doing? Get out of here. Slam the door, okay? The next one we have is avoid. This is really, really common. We avoid emotion by buffering, meaning if we're feeling really sad and we don't want to feel sad, we go for Ben and Jerry's half-baked and we eat that whole thing because it gives us some dopamine, it takes our mind off the sadness, and we feel better for a little bit until we feel bloated and guilty, right? But this is avoiding. So if someone is knocking, if sadness is knocking on your door and you're going to avoid them, that looks like you putting in your AirPods and you're just like, doing your thing, you pretend like no one is at your door. Okay, so that's avoiding. You can think like the difference between resisting and avoiding. I get this question. Resisting is you're actively like fighting against it. No, I'm not doing this. Go away. And avoiding is you do something physical to take your mind off of the pain. So it's usually eating or maybe it's watching TV, maybe it's going on a run. You guys, like, it doesn't have to mean the action is bad, a negative thing, but you do something in an effort to not feel whatever emotion it is that you're feeling. Does that make sense? Okay, do you guys have any? Is avoiding bad? Okay, that's a good question. I mean, you get to decide, but these things that we do with emotion, resisting, reacting, avoiding, I'm here to tell you there's a better way. It can be a problem when you avoid emotion, because then you tend to overeat, overwatch, over Facebook, overwork, over exercise, you overdo things, and then you never allow yourself to just feel what it is that you're feeling. So it's kind of like, the saying of let's just sweep it under the rug. That's what I like to think of when it's avoiding emotion. Like that rug is getting real thick because you're slamming everything under it. So is avoiding bad? I'm just defining what avoiding is for you, and you can decide. But I'm going to teach you tonight that there's actually a much healthier, better way to do it, and you don't have to avoid. So here's the tease, sissies. Life is 50-50. Okay, pretend that this circle is symmetrical. I ain't no Picasso. It's supposed to be even. I'm just not an artist, so it's not. Okay, but here's the thing. We think that emotion is a problem, negative emotion. We think when we feel anger or sad or depressed or anxious, nervous, frustrated, grumpy, whatever, we think when we feel negative emotions, we think something has gone wrong. Because we live in this society and this world of instant gratification that tells us we should be happy all the time. And guess what? If you're not happy, the world is giving you a myriad of things to do to get back to happy. Well, just smoke some pot, go buy something, get on Facebook and scroll for 2 hours, listen to music, sweat it out, eat all of the Oreos and all of the flavors. That will make you feel better, okay? So we have a really hard time feeling negative emotion because we think it's bad. And I just want you guys to learn that life is 50-50. You are supposed to feel negative emotion half of the time. So when I say life is 50-50, I mean half the time it's amazing, it's beautiful, we're happy, we're excited. And the other half of the time, we're devastated, we're sad, we're grumpy, we're angry, we're frustrated. And it is supposed to be that way. Nothing has gone wrong. You as a human being were created to feel all the feels, including negative emotion, okay? But let me show you something. When you feel a negative emotion, okay, let's say you're feeling anger. I'm going to give you an example. I had this experience a little while ago where I felt really embarrassed. I applied to this job, I did this job interview, and before the interview, I was feeling so prepared, really confident. I knew I was going to get this job. And then the interview did not go the way I thought it was going to go. It went completely opposite. And after the interview was said and done, I felt so much embarrassment, okay? So I was here in negative emotion, and I was feeling embarrassment, but I didn't want to feel embarrassed. And so, you know what I did? I went and I just cleaned my house like an insane person. I didn't talk about it. I didn't sit and feel it. And I know that sounds dumb. You're like, since when is cleaning your house a bad thing? But for me, in this case, it was kind of a negative thing because I didn't address the embarrassment. I was being very resistant. I was pushing it away. I was avoiding. When you avoid emotion, it's also called buffering. So here's what happened to me. I felt already embarrassment, which was negative, but then I felt guilt because I kept telling myself I should have known better. I should have done better in that interview. And I felt just like guilty and dumb that I didn't do that. And so I made my negative emotion even worse, like it expanded. You guys following me? But then in order to feel better, in order to get back to positive emotion, guess where you have to go? You have to go through the negative emotion. So you have to be willing to sit with it. You have to be willing to process it in order to come back to this side. Okay? But for me, it has offered me so much of a release in my life to know that nothing has gone wrong. That life is supposed to be 50-50. It's not 80-20, 60-40. It's 50-50. Half the time it's amazing. Half the time it's really hard and horrible. And that is okay. We're humans, and it's supposed to be that way. Nothing has gone wrong. Okay, any questions about life is 50-50? You guys copy? Good. Okay, so now to get to the good part, I'm going to teach you how to just allow for your emotion. Okay, so think back to when I was talking about resisting, reacting, avoiding. And I want you guys to take a minute right now, and if you're willing, throw it in the chat. Tell me what you most commonly do with emotion. So just think of the last time you felt a negative emotion and tell me what you think you most often do. Are you a resistor? Do you fight against it? Do you avoid it? So maybe you like distract yourself with something else in order to not feel the emotion? Or do you react? Do you yell? You guys, even like crying. Like sometimes people think crying is allowing emotion, and that's not necessarily true. So even just like there was a time in my life when I felt really intense anger and despair, and I was on my closet floor like pounding my fist into the floor like a toddler. Okay, that is definitely reacting. Okay, so we have resist, avoid, and react, all of the above. Katie, hi, glad you're here. Okay, yeah. So, and that's the thing, you guys, we do all of these things all of the time, all three, but I avoid most often. Yeah. Yeah, my go-to is I'm a resistor. I do all three, but I most commonly resist. Okay, but you guys, this is great. You just recognizing, oh, when I feel emotion, this is what I'm doing. That actually is really good for you to know because now you can start working on it. I voted by cleaning, exercise. Yeah, exactly. Avoid. Right. Okay, so now let's talk about how we can just allow emotion to be in our lives. Okay, the very first thing, I want you guys to think of it this way. I'm going to give you an example from, I guess this was almost 2 weeks ago. All of you know this. My cousin's wife was killed in a really awful car accident, and I felt so much emotion. I mainly felt anger and just deep, deep grief, like very intense sorrow. Okay. So I had a friend like help me go through this process, but this is what it looks like. So when you're feeling the emotion, the first thing you need to be able to do is just to describe it in detail where it is in your body. So when I talk to you guys about allowing emotion, I mean, where do you feel this emotion in your body? Okay. So for me, I was telling my friends, I felt really angry. And I was like, I literally feel like Thor's hammer is in the pit of my stomach. Like his massive sledgehammer is in my stomach and there's no way to move it. And then I felt like, I don't know if this is actually a thing or if I'm making it up, but I felt like I was on one of those boards that's just like stretching you, you know? And my shoulders were like I was just like being separated. My heart, I literally felt like it was pounding out of my chest. Like I was just waiting to see it on my desk in front of me. It was pounding. I had a hard time just like breathing normally. So that's what I'm talking about. I want you to be able to describe it in detail. And the first thing being, you guys have to be able to name what your emotion is. So I was just telling myself, I'm angry. What I'm feeling right now is anger. What I'm feeling right now is sorrow. So that's the first step. When you, instead of resisting, reacting, avoiding, when you are going to process or allow an emotion, guys, that's the first step is just call it out. I am mad. Or I feel anger. I feel sorrow. I feel frustrated. I feel annoyed. Okay. And then the second part, where is it in my body? It's in my stomach. It's in my chest. Then after this, we go through this series of questions and you ask yourself, okay, like what color? What color is your anger? Anger for me is just like this vibrant, fiery orange. What texture is anger? My anger was really, really heavy and thick. It was Thor's hammer, just, it was stuck down there, okay? Is it moving? My anger, yeah, like it was moving between like the pit of my stomach and the top of my eyebrows. Like it was just like really heavy and thick, but I would feel it move. Okay, so you just ask yourself these questions. This is how you're processing and allowing, is you're just super in tune with your body and where that emotion is in your body. Okay, what if you can't pinpoint it? Really good question. I would just sit with yourself and I would try taking some deep breaths and take your very best guess. Are you saying, what if you can't pinpoint where it is in your body? Is that your question? Like, is it in my head? Is it in my heart? Is it in my stomach? If that's your question, I would just sit with it for a minute and just try again. Close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, be grounded, let it be quiet. You don't want to be in like a distracted area, and just try to really sit with yourself and find where that emotion is. Both elation and where you're at. Yeah. Oh, both emotion. Okay, very good question. What if you can't pinpoint it? Both the emotion and where it is in your body. Okay, something that might help you, and I have a list. It's literally like 4 pages just of words of emotion. So maybe it's looking through that list and it's being like, oh yes, it's agitation. So that's what I would say to you, is just sit with yourself and believe that you're going to know where it's at. Okay. You can also think about it. Think about like a little alien. Let's pretend a little alien is standing on your palm and you have to explain to this alien that has never felt emotion ever. You have to explain to them what it feels like to be in your body right then. Okay. Now, this is going to sound cuckoo, but you guys, I want you to breathe that emotion in. We're so used to running away from it, and I'm telling you the exact opposite. I'm telling you, go towards it. I want you to like greet the anger, like get in here, anger. We're just going to be so mad for a little bit. Get in here, anxiety. Get in here, sadness. Let's do this. Let's just feel it. We don't need to run away from it. We don't need to hide. We don't need to eat. We are just going to feel it, because humans were meant to experience emotion. Okay. And then I love this. You guys know this, that you can handle any emotion because it's just a vibration in your body that is happening because of a sentence in your brain. For example, I felt so angry because I kept thinking God should not have let this happen to her. How could he let this happen to this family? This should not have happened to them. That was like the variation of my thought. Then it just made me so angry. This should not have happened. And it made me feel really intense anger, right? When I felt, but recognizing it. And here's the thing, you guys, it feels uncomfortable to feel negative emotion. I'll be the first one to say that. But it's just a feeling. It's not like someone is chasing after you with a sledgehammer. You're not in physical danger, right? Like if we can just recognize that the truth is, this is just a vibration in my body that I'm experiencing because of a thought, because of a sentence in my brain. I'm creating this in my body. Okay. Here's the other thing. I wanted to feel angry and I wanted to feel sad about it. I did not want to feel happy about this horrible accident. So I think that's another cool thing to recognize. You want to feel those negative emotions. There's a place for them. Okay, do you guys have any questions about this? I also have a worksheet. If you guys are interested, I'm happy to send it out to you. It's a worksheet that walks you through this process of how to allow emotion, what questions to ask yourself, how to do it. And that's the thing, you guys. Most of the time, this process of how to allow emotion looks like you sitting in a chair, your feet on the ground, your eyes closed, and you're just willing to be present with it, okay? I recognize that sometimes you're not going to be able to do that. Maybe you're in a grocery store in a busy place and you can't just sit. But even then, even as you're pushing the grocery cart, you can just be in tune with your body, okay? That's what I recognized last week as I was processing this. I was telling my coach, I was like, I haven't really sat on the floor and processed it. But she was like, oh, but you have, because you know exactly where it is in your body. So that's the biggest thing with this, is just being aware of where the emotion lives in your body. And it's also, there's also a really helpful question on the at the end of this worksheet that says, why am I feeling this? And you always want to be able to take that back to a thought in your head. I'm feeling angry because I'm thinking this never should have happened. I'm thinking something really horrible has gone wrong here, right? Okay. So instead, the alternative, you guys, to resisting and reacting and avoiding is feeling, allowing, processing emotions. So the way that you can think about it is just like, okay, and here's my thing, you guys. I want you to recognize, all of you answered earlier, like, yeah, I tend to resist, I tend to avoid. I want you to know specifically what your go-tos are. Does that make sense? Like, I want you to be aware of yourself. Like, okay, I know that when I'm angry, I scrub potties like a crazy person, or I listen to Linkin Park, or I eat Golden Grams. Like, I want you to know the actions that you do. If you don't know what they are, it's okay. Just take time to observe yourself the next time you're feeling a negative emotion. Okay, so yeah, I'm just telling you, let it be with you. Let it sit with you. I had this great, I don't remember where this came from, but someone gave me this great example of, like, let's say you wake up one morning and you're just feeling really sad. Okay. You're feeling really sad, but you guys, can I tell you something? Think of it this way. Think of like getting in your car, like let's say you have a whole day ahead of you. You've got to go to work, you've got to make dinner, you've got to take care of people, whatever. Like, you have a whole agenda and you're just feeling like really sad. Guess what? You can just say, okay, sadness, I see you. I'm just going to go ahead and buckle you in the back seat of my car, and you can just ride around with me today. You can just be with me. We're just going to do sadness today. You don't need to kick sadness to the curb and replace her with happiness, or replace her with whatever. Like, it's okay to feel emotion, you guys. It's really necessary. So I just love that example. Like, whatever emotion it is that you're feeling, it's okay. Strap it in the back seat and just let it be with you, and observe yourself. Pay attention to where it is in your body. I forgot to tell you something very imperative. So as you are processing emotions, you're going through this practice of like, okay, what emotion am I feeling? Where is it in my body? What color is it? What is it making me want to do? What texture is it? Is it moving? What color? You know, as you ask yourself all these questions, and as you're breathing, you just keep going there. So like for me, it's like, okay, when it started in my stomach, Thor's hammer, and then it's like, okay, where is it now? And I was like, it's in my heart. My heart is beating so fast, I feel like I'm having a hard time breathing. It's like, okay, so go there. Let's just be. Let's close our eyes and just like feel our heart and let it be there. As you guys do this and as you breathe, the emotion naturally leaves your body. It's amazing. People are so nervous that if they allow themselves to feel the emotion, that it's just going to get so much worse and bigger and badder and scarier. And actually, the complete opposite is true. If you allow yourself to feel the emotion and let it run its course through your body, eventually it very naturally just leaves. Okay? And it can do this in a matter of minutes if you're willing to just sit with it and do it, right? Sometimes it'll be with you for days. Like last week, I really did feel like for a solid 2 days, I felt extreme anger and sadness. But I just let it be with me. I didn't try to get rid of it. I was just like, yeah, this totally makes sense. And I actually want to feel anger and sadness right now. I don't want to feel happy. I don't want to feel excited. This is what I want to feel, and I know exactly why I feel it, and I know where it is in my body. It's just like this level of awareness that you're probably, not very used to. Okay. Yeah, let the emotion do what it needs to do in your body without suffering. Meaning, do not beat yourself up for feeling the emotion that you feel, right? So that would look like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm angry. This must mean that I don't love God or whatever. No, like you don't go there, right? Don't add more emotion onto your current emotion. Just let the emotion do what it needs to do in your body. Let it be there, allow it, and it will naturally leave. Guess what? It will come back. You just do the same thing over again. And you guys, I promise you, it's not a problem. It does not have to be a problem. The whole goal of this experience, of this process, is to feel. The world, society, resisting, reacting, avoiding is teaching us to just be numb. We're like, you know what? I'm just going to shut off. I'm just going to be numb. I'm going to eat till I don't feel. I'm going to Facebook till I don't feel. Look at porn, do drugs, whatever, like those actions. That's why we do those things, you guys, is to numb ourselves, to not feel anything. But the problem with that is if you numb yourself, then you don't get to feel anything, right? That means you don't feel positive emotion either. Okay, questions? Where are we at? Does anybody have any questions? Is okay? Okay, yeah, I'll totally send you guys worksheets. Yeah, perfect. Just send me, well, I have to read myself. Okay, so I just want to put in a good word for practice, because maybe you're listening to this and you're like, okay, yeah, sounds great, but for my whole life, I've been avoiding emotion. I've been resisting it. And you mean to just tell me all of a sudden I should start feeling it? Are you crazy? But you guys, it's just practice. Think about this. Whatever you practice, you get better at, no matter what, okay? Classic example of piano. All of our beautiful mothers at some point in our lives have signed us up for piano lessons, okay? When you start, you're horrible. When you start, you hate it. It feels awkward. Your fingers are clunky. You'd rather do anything than sit at that bench and practice. But when you keep showing up, when you keep practicing, and as you keep learning, guess what? You get better. It's the same thing with processing and allowing emotion. The more you do it, the more you're willing to sit with yourself and be like, oh yeah, I feel fear. And fear for me is green and slimy, and it's in my head. I have a pounding headache. Like, the more you're willing to do that and practice it, the better you're going to get at it. Meaning, not meaning negative emotion is going to stop being a part of your life, meaning you're going to just be like, oh, hey, negative emotion, I see you. Yeah, this is just the part where we feel negative emotion, and I'm good at feeling it. I'm okay with feeling it. I'm here for it, right? And you guys just think about what an example you can be when you can feel this emotion. Think about if your kids could see you processing emotion and like teaching your kids or your students or your coworkers or whoever it is that you have some influence with. Think about what that could do for our world, right? Because everything else we're taught is just do something to numb it, do something to feel better, right? And if we could just get really good at just allowing and letting emotion be, then this whole idea of negative emotion being bad would start to go away, right? Yeah, so just these are the steps, my friend. Like, these are the goals. Just become aware, be able to label your emotion. I'm feeling this. This is where it is in my body. This is what it's doing, and let it be there. It's okay. Breathe it in. Let it come. Let it be there. And last but not least, just practice, 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 practice. Let it be there. It's like driving on a road. So let's just think of like a very familiar destination in your mind, right? And it's a place where you know exactly how to get there. You don't have to use Google Maps. You don't have to, like, you just know. You could honestly drive to this place with a blindfold on. And then all of a sudden, someone's like, hey, I have a shortcut, or there's a new road, or the road is closed, we got to take a detour. And you had to drive on a different road. At first, it's going to feel really awkward, really uncomfortable. You're going to need a map. You're going to need steps. You're going to be like, oh, I hate this road. I just want to go back to the other road. Totally normal. Your brain, you guys know this. The second you try to start feeling emotion, your brain is going to be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? We're going to die. Stop. Go get the Oreos. And you just talk back to your brain. You're like, hey, brain, I get it. I get that you're freaking out about this. I got you. We're just going to feel sad for a little bit, and we're going to be fine. Whatever you practice, you get better at. Okay, how to feel that emotion and not let that affect others. Okay, like, I get mad at work, and then I don't want to bring that emotion in the home and towards my wife. Okay, this is a really good question. Okay, here's what I want you to see. Your emotion, you guys, can affect other people. I know we don't believe this, but think about it. When you're feeling an emotion, so when you're feeling mad, something happened at work and you're feeling anger, you're feeling anger because of a sentence in your brain. So that's what I would tell you. First, I want you to recognize what's the thought. What is it that's making you feel anger? And then recognize that you can't take anger out of your heart and put it in someone else's. Right? So I get that. Maybe you're feeling anger and you're going to come home from work and you're just kind of still feeling angry. And if I'm understanding your question right, you're worried about like bringing that in, and then your wife is going to feel angry and your house is going to feel angry, right? But what if that's not the case? Or what if you can just own it? Maybe you can just come home and say, hey, you know what? I'm really mad. I'm feeling mad because of this thought. And you know what? I'm just going to go sit for a minute and be mad. That's an option, right? Like, just because you're feeling a negative emotion doesn't mean the people around you have to feel it. Let me know if that's answering your question. Let me know what else you have about that. Like, I just think, like, I've gotten so much better at this. Like, if Devin was mad and he came home and was mad and I was feeling so great, I was like, oh, this sucks. He's mad and grumpy, so now I have to be mad and grumpy, and we can't do the fun things I was thinking we were going to do when he got home. And then I'm mad and grumpy. How does that help anyone? So now what it looks like is I'm just like, oh my gosh, babe, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you're upset. If you want to talk about it or like whatever, like I'm totally here for you. I love you the most. But I'm going to go watch Gilmore Girls and eat pretzels. Like, you know, like you still have options. You still have choices. You don't have to feel the emotion that other people around you are feeling. And if you are feeling the same emotion that other people are feeling, it is because of a sentence in your brain. Makes a lot of sense to me. That looks like good communication. Yeah. Okay, so he says, this makes a lot of sense to me. That looks like good communication between me and my wife rather than her trying to guess why I feel angry. Yes. And then I think it avoids this whole guessing game of your spouse being like, ooh, I've offended the wife again. Like, it just takes it out. So that's a lot of this, is just be willing to say what's true for you. Hey, I just want you to know I'm so mad. I'm mad because I'm feeling this. Guess what? Do you want to know where it lives in my body? Tell him. And you know what? I'm just going to go be mad for a little bit. Like, yeah, that's completely available to you. Very good. Okay, do you guys have other questions? Those are really good questions. Are you guys feeling like you know what this looks like in your life? Also, with this being said, if I can bring you on to get coached right now, if anyone has like a specific scenario that they want to walk through, or if you're feeling so brave and you want me to lead you through this process on the webinar, I'm so down. If you want to do that, you can click, what do you click? Do you guys see a button that says raise hand? I don't know if you guys can see that. If anyone does want to be coached, just, you can throw that in the chat, or if you see, raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay. What are you guys thinking? Where is this landing? How is it sitting? Tell me all the things. I'm going to take some notes of, and again, if you haven't already, if you want the worksheets that I was talking about, holler at me. I'll throw those, I'll send them in an email to you. Let's see. Okay, you guys, if there aren't any questions, or if anyone, oh, Q&A, hold on. Okay, great question. Okay, so this question says, so we want to fight against the thoughts instead of the emotions. How do you balance feeling your feelings and adjusting your thoughts? Okay, amazing. So the first thing that I want you to recognize is when you're processing emotion, try to stay out of your thoughts. Okay, because when you are doing this exercise, your brain is going to be like, oh, but remember this, or oh my God, like your brain might start going a little crazy. So what you do is you just keep bringing it back to your body. You're just like, no, no, no. We're just feeling anger, and I feel anger here. Like, just keep allowing yourself to go back to where the emotion is in your body. Like, be present with your body. This is like sounding weird because I'm all about the thoughts, and there's a place for the thoughts. We'll get there. But be with the body, and then we're going to address the thoughts after. Is that making sense? So you want to be able to walk through the exercise of calling the emotion, like naming it, feeling it, knowing what it's doing. You want to be able to respond to the question of what does this emotion make you want to do? Then once you feel like you've allowed that emotion and you feel it and you can tell me, like, or you could tell another person where it's at in your body, then you can ask yourself, why? Why am I feeling this emotion? And that is when you're going to tap into your brain and you're going to try to find the thought. You guys, there's going to be so many thoughts. Like, your brain has so many thoughts, but just try to find one thought that you are like, oh yeah, that's for sure why I'm feeling this emotion. And it's not so much that you want to fight against the thoughts. Like, you don't need to resist your thoughts. I would say it's more of just like, hold on, thoughts. I'm going to get to you. There's totally a place for you. Right now, I'm being really present and just feeling emotion. How do you balance feeling your feelings and adjusting your thoughts? Right. So also just recognizing that your thoughts do create your feelings 100% of the time. It's not the circumstances, it's not the events of our life that make us feel the emotion, it's what we make them mean that make us feel that emotion. So the balance of feeling your feelings and adjusting your thoughts, I'm going to say, are kind of two separate things. First, you just want to feel and be present. And then you're going to come into this space. This is such a good let me know if this isn't what you're saying. You're going to come into this space where you're like, okay, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to not feel so much anger anymore. So I'm going to start going through my thoughts. So that's exactly what happened to me last week. Like, I felt really angry and sad all day, all Monday, really angry and sad most of the day Tuesday. Tuesday night, I'm in my bed at 8:30 and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to take a look at what's going on in my head. So what you can do, you guys, is like a thought download. Like, just be willing to get all of your thoughts out and see what they are, take a look at them. And you guys, when you do this, you've got to be really compassionate and very curious. Like, wow, I wonder why I think that. I wonder why this is coming up for me. And you just be really compassionate. You never beat yourself up for what it is that you're thinking or feeling. Let's just be kind. Let's be observant. Okay. And as you do that, like, I was just able to recognize, oh, well, and I knew this, but I was finally ready to like address it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad because I'm thinking that, like, this was just so wrong, that God never should have let this happen. And that's why I felt anger. So once I had that thought, I was able to ask myself, okay, Heather, do you want to keep this thought? Do you want to keep holding on to, like, wow, God did this horrible thing. Why, I'm confused. Why did he do that? For me, the answer was no. Okay. And so there was things that I was able to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to read this. I'm going to pray. Maybe it looks like meditation. Maybe it looks like talking to a coach or a therapist. Like, it's whatever you feel like you need to do to start making some peace, right? And eventually, as I did these things like self-care, as I took care of myself, my thought has totally changed, right? Like, and here's the thing, I still feel sadness, but my anger is gone. And it's because I've had this change of thought. But that took work, right? And I'm not saying it has to be this horribly hard, long, drawn out experience, But I was able to shift that thought to like, you know what? This was just her plan. I mean, this was God's plan for Natalie. And it was her time to go. Right? And just variations of those thoughts helped me to actually access peace and helped me to access understanding. Is that answering your question? Please let me know if it's not or if you need more clarification. Okay, what else we got here? Okay. When you're feeling overwhelmed and don't have space in the moment to address the emotion because you're taking care of others and kids' needs, do you write it off and set a time to address it later? Or how do you do that without avoiding? Totally makes sense. What I would tell you is even in that moment, even when you're taking care of kids and you're feeling overwhelmed, overwhelm is an interesting emotion because it's what we call an indulgent emotion. But still, I would just ask yourself while you're getting gummies and heading out the door or cleaning up a mess, whatever it is that you're doing, disciplining the child, try to just recognize where it is in your body and even just calling it out. So, I mean, this can take 5 seconds. I feel really overwhelmed and I feel it as a headache, or I feel really overwhelmed and I feel like I have butterflies in my stomach. And then you might not be able to get a lot further in that moment, but you just being able to call it out. And I know that you might think this is weird, but I honestly would say it out loud. Lily says to me all the time, Mom, are you talking to yourself again? And I'm like, yeah, I am. But just like call it out loud and then just ask yourself, okay, where are you? Where are you overwhelmed in my body? Let me find you. Okay. Even just doing that, even making that small shift will help so much. And it's going to become easier. And there was a question earlier of like, well, what if I can't name the emotion? What if I don't really know where it is in my body? Trust yourself, you guys, and just keep going. Like the more you do this, the better you're going to become at identifying the emotion and identifying where it is in your body. Like I've found with myself as I do this work, I have patterns. Like I am very well aware of like certain situations that I know I'm going to have a negative reaction to, and I know where I'm going to feel it in my body, and I know why I'm doing it. Right? So like the more aware you are, you're going to recognize what patterns you have around emotion. And that's amazing, right? Knowledge is power. So the more awareness you get about around is the word I'm looking for. The more awareness you have around it, then the more power you have to just like allow it and let it be. Does that make sense? Okay. What else? Really, really great questions. Are there any other questions, you guys, or any thoughts? What obstacles do you guys think you're going to have? Like when the webinar is over and you feel negative emotion, like the night is young. You might feel some tonight. If not tonight, probably definitely tomorrow. What are you going to do? Do you feel like you know how to do it? Okay. If you have the knowledge, why can't you not feel it? I'm a little confused of your question. Are you saying like, if you know that your emotion is created by your thoughts, why do you still have to feel it? Yeah, if you have the knowledge, why do you have to feel the emotion? That's such an interesting question. Because I would ask you, what happens to you when you aren't willing to feel it? Right? So when you do resist, when you do react, when you do avoid emotion, maybe you don't recognize it, but it is creating like a negative net consequence in your life. Because it's usually creating behaviors that can be like harmful or maybe not actually what you want to create. That's such a fascinating question. I love that. Why do you have to feel the emotion? Because the alternative, you guys, is not feeling it, which is in some category of resisting, reacting, avoiding, and then just not addressing it is going to create bigger problems for you. Like, the more, if you're not willing to feel your emotion, it's going to get bigger and badder and scarier. It's kind of like a closet. Like, I have this junk drawer in my, like most people have a junk drawer in my kitchen. And when I open it, I'm just like, oh, like it's horrible. There's junk everywhere, right? And I just like close that door. I'm just like, oop, not even going to go there. That's kind of what we do with emotion. We're like, oh, I feel anger coming on. Nope, nope, nope. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pretend like everything is fine. I'm going to go get a drink and just walk it off. But like at the end of the day, all the junk is still in the drawer. Until I'm ready to just like be with the drawer and open it and take everything out and realize this I want to keep, this I don't, and organize it and make it an area that is like clean and usable. Is that answering your question? Why do you have to feel the emotion? And also I would just say, because you're meant to. You're a human being. I honestly believe, you guys, that God created us to feel all the feels. If he didn't want you to feel all this emotion, guess what? Emotion wouldn't exist. It's just totally part of our lives as human beings. It's just it's like this really big area that he's just like, guys, I really do want you to figure this out. Emotion is just part of the plan. It's part of the game. Really good question. What else you guys got? What other questions? Do you feel like you know how to do this? At least the start, right? I mean, you guys, we've been here 50 minutes. We could be here for a whole week talking about emotion and how to do this. But do you guys feel like you're leaving with tools of what to do with your feels, how to deal with them? Let me know if you're feeling like you do have some direction or you're feeling a little lost. Is there anything we need to recap? Tell me where you guys are at. Okay. Love this. Okay. I love to feel happiness and love to sit in it, but that also means I have to take the time to sit in sadness, and it's just as fine as sitting in happiness. There's no difference. They're both just emotions. Okay, that is so profound, sister of mine. So profound. And I think that is really true. We think like it's so much more fun and enjoyable to sit in our happy emotions, right? To sit with joy or happiness. And it does, like it feels good to feel those things. But I also would offer you guys, sometimes we don't allow that either. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to just feel the happiness. It's like, well, we have to capture this happiness and this excitement. We have to take a photo and post it on Instagram. Or we've got to go get ice cream right now to celebrate this. And it's like, what if we were just willing to sit with the feeling no matter what it was, positive or negative? And what if even you just took away positive and negative? What if they were just feelings? This is my feeling. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling anger. This is where it is in my body, and I'm just doing it, right? Yeah, that's really amazing. I had this client one time that told me she was really struggling with like her self-confidence, and she just felt so low. And she's like, I literally taught myself to just turn off all of my emotions. I was so sick of feeling so horrible that I literally I just was numb. Like I felt numb for a few years. She's like, and until I started working with you and feeling things, I didn't recognize that meant I had also been numb to happiness and to peace and to joy, right? We can't just turn off anger and turn off sadness and turn up happiness. Like we don't get to choose that, right? So I think that's something kind of important to recognize. Any tips or ways to remember to feel your feelings? I honestly would just say I would keep it in your mind as practice, and I will totally email you the emotion list and the how to feel your feelings. I would just try to keep, maybe just think of like one takeaway from this, or maybe try to come up with one thought regarding your emotions. So if right now you tend to resist and avoid emotion, maybe just start telling your brain like, hey, it's okay for me to feel emotion, or I am willing to feel all the feels, or I know how to allow emotion in my life. Emotion is not a problem, right? Like maybe just try to kind of come up with one thought, or people call this like affirmations, is that the word? Maybe just try to come up with some like thought that is going to help you kind of compound, like put all this kind of together in a short way. And the other thing I would tell you, any way to remember, like I would leave tonight and just be like all in for feeling all the feels, like be so excited for the next time you're going to feel an emotion, and practice this. Even if it's a positive emotion, and especially if it's a negative one, just be like, okay, here it is. Here's the anger. I can feel it coming down the pipeline, and I'm just going to allow it, right? And you guys, it's not like there's any one right way to do it. You know, it can look so many different ways, but just allow yourself to be open. Even you thinking about it, even you coming to this class tonight, you guys, and recognizing, oh, it's an option. I can feel my feelings. I can process it. And this is apparently how you do it. Even just your mind having that much more awareness, when you start to feel emotion, something will go off. Yeah. And I just want to put that out there. I just want to thank every single one of you for coming tonight. There's so many other places that you could be, so many different things you could be listening to and giving your attention to. And I just want to thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, for spending time with me and being here and being willing to listen and learn, because I just found in my own life it's so helpful. And emotions aren't going anywhere. If anything, we're just going to have more experiences and more opportunities to feel them. And so I think it's so worth our time and energy to figure this whole thing out. And obviously, if you want any more work, or you want like a deeper dive on this, you know exactly where to find me. I'm taking clients. I work one-on-one. I'd love to do that for you. Okay, is there anything else? We have 6 more minutes. If there's any other questions or thoughts. Sometimes when I'm angry, I want to punch a punching bag or go run, and I feel like it helps with my emotion. I feel like my anger is lessened. Yeah, here's the thing. Before you do that, before you run, before you punch the bag, I honestly would just take 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and just call it out. I am angry. This is where I feel it in my body. And then if you could take it one more step and ask yourself, why? Why am I feeling angry? And find the thought in the brain that's creating that. And just like can you just let it simmer for a second? And then you can go punch the bag. You can go running. But just like opening your mind up to a little bit of awareness, because what's happening for you is when you go punch the bag or you go running, you feel better because your brain is releasing dopamine. And you're feeling dopamine in your body, and that's why you're feeling better. But you haven't necessarily addressed the anger, right? So the anger, you know, it might come back, and you're probably just more prone to go punch the bag. But before you do that, I would just be really honest and aware with yourself of like, okay, this is the emotion, this is where it's at, this is why I'm feeling it. And just keep being on to yourself. I'm going to go punch this bag, and tell yourself why, right? It's like you're probably doing it because you want to feel better. And that's fine. But what if the goal isn't to feel better? What if the goal is just to feel? That's what I would offer. Really, really amazing questions. You guys are so awesome. Anything else? Any other questions? Thoughts? What you got? Thank you guys for participating. Oh, it makes such a difference when I feel like it's Sunday school, you know, and your Sunday school teacher is like, please participate, please ask questions, and everyone's just staring at the teacher. Yeah, commenting and saying all the things is so helpful, and it makes this experience just like so much more applicable and real because we're talking about it with what it's like for you guys. So thank you. Oh, I love all of you. I think all of you are wonderful and beautiful and amazing and the best. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously, you guys rock. All right, my people. Well, that's all I got. Thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful. I'm so happy that we got to spend some time together and learn about our feelings. So go do this work, go practice, and then hit me up. You can find me, Heather Flake Coaching on the Insta, on the Facebook. Let me know how it goes for you. You can email me, heatherflakecoaching@gmail.com. Let me know what questions or what comes up for you guys. Okay, y'all are the best. Have the best night, and hopefully I'll see y'all soon. Bye. Oh, I love you guys too. Thank you. Bye.